Hello. So today I went on Tumblr and I asked you guys if you knew any, hopefully fictional characters from movies, TV series, comic books, etc. I was looking for someone that might represent me, someone who uses a wheelchair and is a woman of color, and queer would be for bonus points. Here's what led me to ask that question. So I love costumes and I love Halloween, and I was contemplating making some kind of costume for one of the conventions that were coming around, but I have been using a wheelchair full time for the past 7 months now, and I wasn't sure about what to do. And sure, I've seen really creative things like turning your wheelchair into a car or into a throne, or being a mermaid, which I've literally seen a million times. I don't know, felt a little cheated. I'm like, I want to do something that's kind of convenient, and since I am in a chair, maybe I could find somebody that looks like me and is in a chair and I can be them. So the hunt began. First I asked myself, I'm like, how many physically disabled characters do you know? I really couldn't think of any. Not very many. I thought of a few, but they were all cisgender white men. The first one I thought of was Dr. Scott from Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I actually considered being him when I attempted to go to a Rocky Horror show last month. That didn't work out, but yeah, he's an option. Then Artie Abrams from Glee, another cisgender white dude. Dr. House uses a cane. From the list I've gathered so far, there are several characters in wheelchairs, but most of them are men and white, and then there's some characters with canes, a lot of prostheses. Is that how you pronounce it? That's been going on. John Bennett from Orange is the New Black. Several characters in the How to Train Your Dragon films. Walter White Jr. in Breaking Bad uses crutches. Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump is an amputee and he uses a wheelchair. Daredevil is about a blind superhero. Media representation is really important to me. It's an important topic because, coming out of my body dysmorphia disorder, I, opened my eyes to see how little someone like me is represented in the media. I don't remember who it was who said it, but you can't be what you can't see. It's very hard on people's self-esteem when, for a certain group of people, there are countless characters in movies, TV, and books that represent them. If you're cisgendered, if you're white, if you're able-bodied, if you're straight, there are so many examples out there to validate your experience and validate your identity. Would have been so beneficial as a kid to see more queer characters on television and in movies, and I wouldn't have felt so weird about my queer identity and so ashamed of it, because even though I knew some queer people in school, it was still seen as something weird and as something that you shouldn't be. Because I didn't know what being gay meant until I was 14 or something. And when I found out, my eyes opened wide wow, you can do that? I didn't know we could do that. It would have saved me a whole world of trouble and closet time if there were better representation and more examples of the fact that these identities are okay. It's okay to be gay. It's okay to be a person of color. It's okay to have a disability. And your story is worth telling. That is what you tell us when you put our faces out there. Another example, as an actor, I studied acting majority of my life, and going to an audition process, like, you realize that there are no roles for you as a person of color. It's really hard. And for me, because I'm a person of color that is not even skinny, which is a whole nother thing. All right? That's a whole nother thing that's not represented, is different types of sizes. And if you, it's not typically seen that you're somewhere in the middle. You're either skinny or you're fat. And if you're fat, let's see how properly you are represented. That's always the rough spot, because fat is either comedic or you're the sidekick. Like, when do fat people get to be the lead in their own romantic stories? Unless it's a fat man, and typically he's with like an ideally sexy woman. So size, race, disability, just very new to my plate. And it's really disappointing to go through all this research and have a really tough time finding women of color with disabilities. And like I said, if she's queer, it'd be total bonus, because I'm like, wow, that person's like me. And when you find people like you, that builds community. That gives you strength. That boosts your self-esteem. So I'd like to challenge you to let me know how often you find that someone of your identities is represented. And if you fall under some categories that are very much underrepresented or misrepresented in our media, then push for it. Don't let people tell you that you're upset over nothing. This is not nothing. Underrepresentation and misrepresentation is very harmful to people. Specifically minorities. Specifically groups of people who are oppressed. People who are queer or transgender, or people of color, or disabled, or any other kind of minority. When they can't see that who they are is capable of being happy, and when they can't see themselves normalized within society, when they can't see that their stories are worth telling and that their lives have value, people suffer. Artists and creators, I challenge you to create different types of characters that represent the plethora of different kinds of people there are in the world. Because we need that. Society and oppressed minorities desperately need that. It's beneficial for everyone. It's beneficial for our self-esteem. It's beneficial for people that don't identify as any kind of minority to see these people as normal instead of strange. So that when you meet a gay person or a disabled person or a person of color, you don't stumble on your words and say the wrong thing or say something offensive or do something offensive. It creates an equal playing field. So yeah, let me know if you ever feel under or misrepresented for your identity. And I challenge you to demand better and start this conversation among people you know. And in the comments. Yeah. Definitely leave me comments about that. Alright guys, I will see you guys eventually, and we'll probably talk about this again. I love you all. Mwah. Bye.